auction.
That happened to Carol. Remember, he bought that trailer off of an auction, and it turns out it was stolen.
Yep.
After the wheel came off when he was hauling it home.
Well, that's what
went out to. It rolled like 20 acres in the middle of this muddy field, and he had to walk out there and carry it back.
Dude, think of the like energy behind that tire that it would go that far into the. That's crazy.
Well, that kills people.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My mom has a friend whose husband died that way. Tire rolled off of a truck and went right through his windshield and killed him.
Interesting. I mean, I'm going 60 mile an hour and a tire weighs 80 pounds or whatever it weighs. That's not.
It's a lot of physics.
Yeah, a lot of physics everywhere, man. Well, a couple housekeeping things for our friends, listeners of the pod, our dear friends. One, Pheasant Fest, and then Deer Classic. Deer Classic, you'll probably catch, depending on what day you're there, you could catch any of us. Pheasant Fest will be Kent, Judd, and I up in Minneapolis, so please come hang out with us. We would love to see you.
I'm going shopping for snacks tonight for us to eat while we're there.
Yeah.
We basically live there for 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah. No, literally.
Normally it's 4 days, but we're cutting it close this year on the setup time.
Well, usually Kent and I are like, we'll leave at noon and we'll get there in the evening.
No, we get there so you can set up either Thursday.
Yeah.
Or you can set up last minute like Friday
Thursday,
morning.
Yeah.
And we're just going for it on Friday morning.
Well, we've gotten good enough, and we don't have like a big trailer of stuff.
Right.
We've gotten good enough at setting up that it's kind of like, whatever,
Plus, I got to think the line's going to be small.
Yeah.
Because everyone else is so responsible.
No, dude. No. Well, it's everybody else who has an SUV or a truck. I mean, that's what the trade shows. They're fascinating. They're fascinating. I really like Pheasant Fest because they're so educational. They like just have areas everywhere where they have speakers speaking on different topics. Really like that.
Yeah.
So, man, but we're going to be at those two places. Next, partnerships. You'll see this in March. We have 3 or 4 partners coming on the pod. And I just want to make something really clear. We'll talk about it in the actual ad spot. We have either used these companies or have a relationship with these organizations beforehand. And we did not go with the high dollar. We'll just say it that way. We went with companies we knew that we could stand behind. And if you actually use their product, you wouldn't be pissed at us because their product sucks, right? So that was really important to us. We're actually like customers or users of these organizations. So yeah, just wanted to let you guys know that's coming in a couple of weeks. And
you get to hear a whole lot more of Nicholas's voice on the podcast. Just think of it that way. He's reading ads.
Well, we tried to do ads, 30-second ads with Kent once, and they ended up being like 3 minutes long. Yeah. So I was like, this is not gonna work.
If somebody wants my voice that bad enough, they can type it up and submit it that way.
Man, that's funny. Are you worried about the AI? The like AI stealing your voice and face thing? Because especially for you and I, Kent, we're out there.
You get enough data to analyze.
Yeah, I am worried about that, especially with some of the scams that have been a thing for a while.
Yeah.
One time, my brother-in-law, somebody was pretending to be him. They called my wife's grandmother. They're like, "Hey, this is your grandson, so and so. I got into some trouble. I need you to send me bail money, like right now."
Wow.
And can you imagine when they're able to do those phone calls with your actual voice?
Well, they can do them like they can pretend to be FaceTime. They can pretend to be you.
Yeah.
I think if I remember correctly, Apple has worked pretty hard at making sure people can't just like integrate a third-party app to do that. Otherwise, it'd probably be more common. So shout out to Apple. They've always been security down tight.
Yeah.
But
oh man, here's a slow cruiser past the auction lineup. Out there on the road. I'm seeing it now. We might be interrupted momentarily.
We are getting a lot of people interested in the auction. Link in the description below today. It's the first half is Tuesday, February 24th. The second half is March 10th, which I think's a Thursday. I can't remember. But so there will be a first half and a second half. All sorts of wrestling with titles and old stuff that we don't even know what it is or whose it is out here, you know, where Dad got it from. So we have people literally every day, multiple times, just stopping on in, which, if they're friends, it's fun. And if we don't know them, it's less fun.
Well, Kent brought up a really good theory. It's yesterday. It's too early to be in the field, but your equipment is fixed. And guys are bored.
And it's too early to put cows out to pasture.
Yeah. There's it's that time of year where almost nothing's going on for conventional ag. So.
Well, we're in the middle of February. Normally there's some snow on the ground right now.
Yeah,
that's
true.
But it's basically spring.
Yeah, I should have looked up the weather data to get to have like actual numbers. But my wife and I, we were talking about how it came up on her Facebook memories. A Valentine's Day, we went to see Les Miserables. That's my best French right there that you're going to get. It's probably our favorite music. You wouldn't know this about me. I'm a big musical guy. I love musicals.
Yeah.
And
he was telling me about Les Miserables, and then while we were in the car the other day for hours, and he's like, you know what? Let me just tell you the full story. And then spent 20 minutes explaining the whole story. It was great.
Did I do a pretty good job?
He did a great job. Yeah.
So that's we've seen it. I've seen it with her live twice, and she's seen it live 3 times now. And 11 years ago, we went to see that on Valentine's Day. Great theater in Rock Island, Illinois, called Circa 21 Playhouse. Got to go if you're ever in the area. And it's a dinner theater, actually. And it's super old, and like it's got that old, like Victorian era decor in there and stuff, and designs pretty cool. But anyways, we were there, and it had to be. Wind chill was probably I would estimate at least 20 below zero. And real temp probably had to be right around 0. And Valentine's Day this year, it was like almost I think Valentine's Day itself was 60, right around 60. So you're talking a 60-degree difference.
Yeah, I think it was like 64 when the sun was shining, and it was
yeah. I mean, it was the kind of cold where it made you anxious when you got out into it. It's like yeah.
Yeah, I don't. You can never judge like a climate based on one year.
Yep.
And you can definitely judge a climate based on 100 years. So somewhere between 1 and 100 years is the line. I know technically they go
30 year increments.
Are there like deep research? I don't know. Are there like deep papers where they said like, 30 years tends to be the cycles, or is it just kind of like, that's half a human life cycle in the 1920s?
Just enough. It was just determined to be that's enough data to make a determination. I think it's just a standard that climatologists have. Saying like there's enough data if you've gone 30 years to be able to recognize an undeniable trend, right? Whereas if it was only a few years, think of how much like an event like El Nino affects climate for really over a year. And
I think it's like 4 years. El Nino is like 4 years.
Well, it happens. The event happens every 4 years, but there's overspill of weather change.
I did not realize that. I thought you're in El Nino for 4 years and then you're in La Nina for 4 years.
Well, it could be both then, because I mean it's just happening then every 4 years. But
yeah.
I don't think it's I guess I've never looked at it that way. I think it's more or less it's an anomaly that happens every 4 years, but I could be wrong.
Yeah,
on that.
I also could be very wrong. I've not studied it. Man. Well, cool. We should jump in. Welcome back to the Prairie Farm Podcast. Coffee Time Wednesday. I'm your favorite host, Nicholas Lirio, with your favorite co-host, Ken Boucher.
Howdy ho.
And your favorite co-host, the co-host, Riley Rosendahl.
Howdy.
We're here. We're hanging out. We've got some data in front of us. So that I put in the smallest print of all time.
Nicholas will leverage this to his own argument here shortly. We're
I called
mere victims.
When Nicholas presents a small spreadsheet with small letters on it, I feel like Kent and I are at a natural disadvantage.
Yeah, right.
I did spend about an hour looking into this, so I am way ahead.
All
of
right,
you guys,
let's debate this topic that I didn't tell you about, and I spent hours gathering evidence for.
I just want to remind you all that you're not as smart as me. No, it's not true. Anyone who listens to the podcast knows that's not true. That's not true. Here's what I did. If you're looking on YouTube, sure. If you're looking on YouTube, I'll put it up here right now. A little spread of data. Now, I want to be really clear. I got this from Gemini, made it cited sources, and it had like a bunch of different sources for this different information. Literally like the what is it, health.org or whatever the Mayo Clinic was on there.
Hooligans.com.
USDA, the USDA website, all these different censuses. yeah, hooligans. MTV.
Do you remember that kid site that they'd always have you go to at school? You hooligans.
No.
It was like Yahoo, but for kids or something.
Oh,
I don't remember.
Man,
that.
I'm old.
Yeah,
Did you guys
buddy.
play Math Blaster?
yes, I did play Math Blaster in my school. That was about 40 years behind the times. So
I don't know. I didn't play Math Blaster, so
You never played Math
No,
Blaster?
I don't think so.
That was a great game. I was looking up to see if it still existed because I thought my kids might enjoy it.
oh yeah, video games.
I have trouble relating to the young folks these days.
Math Blaster is not the way to get to him, Ken. I hate to break it to you, but
Don't tell Jonas, but I got him one of those, those hoops with a stick that you kind of chase around.
Which is about twice what I spent on Christmas the year before.
Do they give you a pet rock for free when you get your hoop with a stick? Or
Man, that's funny. The old pet rock. All right, well, I got some data on here. Anyone who's watching on YouTube can see this. I have a list of things. Dozen eggs. We're not going to go over every single one of these, but dozen eggs, gallon of milk, loaf of bread, gallon of gas, a new vehicle, monthly rent, monthly mortgage payment, a basic t-shirt, a pair of shoes, and a Bible. The reason I use Bible, it's the most purchased book of all time. So I was trying to say, what do books cost? Was it cost to print things? And the Bible, because it's the most printed thing, they've become very efficient at printing it. Very cheap, lower cost. So what am I doing here? Well, 1965 average prices and 2025 average prices. And I did not account for inflation. And there's a very specific reason why. Instead of comparing it with the inflation, I did two things. I compared it to what do those things cost per percentage-wise of your yearly or monthly income, but more importantly, how many hours do you have to work on average in the United States to buy each one of these things in 1965 and 2025?
So essentially, inflation is built into your calculation.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. But inflation doesn't account for everything. And there's some pretty complicated ways to look at this, but I figured pound for pound, hour for hour, how much do you get for your work that you're doing is probably the best way to judge it. But if you look here, dozen eggs cost you a fifth of an hour, right? Cost you 12 minutes. Today, it costs you a tiny bit less than that.
Yeah.
So, okay, dozen eggs. But
0.2
also,
to 0.18.
But, so that 0.02 difference.
Yeah.
Think of how
2/100.
chickens, thank you, 2/100. Think of which is a 10% difference, how much bigger the chicken confinements are to only get a 10% difference.
Right.
Right? It's going to be way more efficient.
Right.
Well, it's going to be 10%
And the
more
environmental
efficient.
cost.
Yep, exactly. All right. Gallon of milk, 0.4, so a little less than half an hour. But today, 0.15, way ahead. But as you all will hear in a few weeks, we connected with a dairy farmer. Not looking good for the dairy farmer. So we traded in dairy farmers' livelihoods and maybe, milk nutrition. I'm not even going to speak to that. There's a lot of argument.
Well, just whatever small dairy farm, whatever that effect was on rural culture in Dairyland USA.
Yeah, absolutely. Loaf of bread it's basically the same. Gallon of gas, the same, which is really interesting in terms of how many hours it costs for a new vehicle. It was just shy of 1,000 hours of work, and now, 998. Now we're at 1,860.
Almost doubled, or it has over doubled, right?
No, not quite.
Oh no,
doubled.
no, that's not a percent of increase. That's just a.
But what's interesting about the vehicle thing that it's hard to say, vehicles are just way more expensive because vehicles have way more gadgets and quote unquote value in them, right? I mean, by golly, right now for $50,000, you can get a vehicle that has a TV in it on the front and can drive for you.
You ever think about that? Like the big one, again, my age, going back 15 years ago, is you could get in your dash, you could get a navigation touchscreen, right?
Oh yeah.
You could go to Best Buy and buy like a Garmin that, suction cup to your windshield for $300.
R.I.P. Garmin.
But to like upgrade the option on your car to have it in the dash was like thousands. of extra. Like
Yeah.
to go to that
Only
next
like
package
Lexuses.
level.
Yeah, you know, like you didn't in 2008.
Yeah.
You like Lexuses and Mercedes had it,
Yeah,
but
so
like
you'd pay like an extra $3,000 to
Yeah.
get a $300 device put into your dash that you can't ever get rid of when it's way out of date, and the Lexus is still
Interesting.
running for.
and now the iPhone does
ever.
it for less money, and it also does way
Right.
way
Right.
more things. So yes, vehicles are way more expensive, but also I think we're kind of just we choose into the more expensive vehicle thing out of comfort. I mean, you can
Yeah.
have all the amenities for the most part. A 2017 vehicle, which at this point, fun fact, guys, is 9 years old.
Yeah.
A 2017 vehicle, and you can get it for $10,000.
I think as someone who lived in the era of uncomfortable vehicles, like when a bare bones vehicle really was lacking, which you understand well because you drove those too in high school and stuff.
Dude.
I think vehicles where the upgrade in what at that time modern vehicle offered as far as like comfort, road noise, that happened around like 2005-ish, maybe give or take a few years. And since that time, everything has just been gravy added on. You know what I mean? Like there hasn't been this huge, like, no, your quality of life is significantly better now.
Yeah.
Because I mean, go back like a vehicle in the 90s, how loud it was inside, the wind whistling through the terrible weather stripping, the windshield wipers that did nothing, the headlights that were so dim you'd be better off with a flashlight.
So you had 5 different hubcaps on only 4 wheels.
Right, yeah.
That's real. Well, and we don't get from A to B that much faster anymore. It's like cars are kind of a diminishing return. Well, we're about to have a giant upgrade where they just all drive themselves.
Well, the crazy thing though with cars is they're coming out with a line of I don't know if you guys have seen these or not, but they're called Slate pickup trucks.
Yes, I
they're
have seen
American
those.
made,
I have
$20,000 to
seen
$30,000. Very bare bones. The 90s vehicle per se, right?
Yeah.
But with a little bit of electrification. I'll be really curious to see.
Can you imagine it's an electric vehicle, but you have
crank windows?
Yeah. It's an EV.
It's super funny, but I wonder if it'll kind of show as a referendum that, you know, cars used to cost $15,000-$20,000, you know.
Right.
If we can get relatively close back to that, are people really going to buy it, or are we so attached to our TVs that
Yeah, that's true.
That's fair.
know.
Well, so let me go down the list. I'm going to skip rent and mortgage real quick. T-shirts, basically the same price that they used to be.
Yeah.
Pair of shoes, a lot cheaper, like 20-30% cheaper than they used to be. And I don't know if that's because like shoes have become a commodity or now we're getting them from Eastern Asia. I don't know, but they're a lot cheaper. And then the Bible and books, a lot cheaper, half the price of in terms of how many hours you work for it. I put Wi-Fi on here because I think that's funny because they
Wi-Fi's
didn't have
gone
Wi-Fi.
way up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the bandwidth that everything you do is on the last 10
that's
years.
true.
But
Yep.
from $0 of our monthly budget to about 100. Well, let's go to mortgage and rent. This one's interesting because in my opinion, this is the best argument for, hey, rent and mortgages are going way up. And that is rent used to be 34 hours of work. Now it's 64 hours of work per month. And mortgage used to be 44 hours per month. Makes sense. Hey, if I'm going to own the thing, I'll pay a little more for it. Now it's 87.
Yeah.
It doubled.
So people are if they're getting paid bi-monthly, one of their first paychecks, a little more than that, goes to
Mortgage payment.
their mortgage payment. Wow.
Yeah. Which is definitely real estate is more expensive. And that is true for various reasons. And we can get into those reasons, but also definitely we want more bang for a buck. It does not. I should have broken down the mortgage payment per square foot. That's what I should have done.
I kind of push back on that because houses, unlike a lot of the other things on this list, last a long time. So
Yeah, that's fair.
So a lot of the houses that people were living in 1965, someone's still living in them today. And,
Yeah.
And whereas a car that was manufactured in 1965 has long since been it's in one of these piles of scrap metal out here that's going off to the metal recycler, you know. And so I don't know that it's as much now. Definitely we've built a lot of houses since then, but also the world's population has gone up a lot since 1965.
So you think
And so
demand is a lot higher?
There's a lot more demand for housing. Just there's had to be more houses built, a lot more to adjust for that number of people.
Well, one more piece of the data I want you to look at before we jump into what you guys think of this stuff is on the far right side. You see that number that says 2.653846154? That was the average hourly wage. Do you see that number 26.666?
Yeah.
That
I'm not sure.
it's over here on that
On the
far
right
right.
side.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So the 2.6 was average hourly wage in 65. And $26.67 is the average hourly wage. And actually, sorry, I should correct myself. All of these are median numbers. They're not averages. So we're not skewed by super rich or super poor people.
Sure.
So they're median numbers. The median hourly wage is $26.67. Do you know what, if you account $2.65, the inflation from 1965 to 2025, I did 2025 numbers. Do you know what that number would be today?
No, I do not.
It would be $26.65. Literally, the middle class has not gotten an ounce wealthier. Literally perfect, like a couple pennies,
Well, don't most employers give like enough of a raise just to keep up with inflation every year?
Like a inflation raise or a merit-based raise that is usually 2.75%.
So it kind of makes
or whatever,
sense, like the math has always been there.
Yeah.
Like, you've gotten this much more each year to adjust for inflation.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm hoping that people who are getting more experience at their job are getting raises, and the median's dragged down by the new employees who just come in, and then they slowly go up. And that's my hope. But crazy, isn't that crazy? We like we're the wealthy. Look at how much the S&P 500 has gone up since 1965.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, like average wage is the exact same. And it makes me think that labor is just a commodity.
So what do you think that money? Theoretically, if everyone's got the same amount of money adjusted for inflation that they're ending each pay period with, right?
Yep.
What was that money going towards in 1965 that is now going towards mortgage, new vehicle, vehicle payments, and so what were they spending it on in 1965?
Well, I want to get to that because I don't exactly have those answers, but there's one more really important thing that we need to talk about. And I did not do the math on median household income, which has actually gone up, and it's up above inflation. So $6,900 is the median in 1965, and $84,000 is the median now. That's above inflation increase by some odd 20% or something like that. But you know what else went up way more than 20%? The amount of wages earned, labor hours per household worked, because women entered the workforce in a substantial way.
Is the big boost.
Yep. And so, but they literally added way more hours than the median income of a household. So it didn't actually. That's why I had to go per hour worked, and not just like, the median income of a household went up. But someone wasn't around at the house taking care of some of the other things. And that's why even at churches, you see more people on staff, is because there used to be a culture of a lot of the stuff that someone is paid for. That was all that stuff was volunteer driven.
Yeah.
Not just at churches, all sorts of nonprofits and taking care of community parks and, all this stuff. I just thought that like shook me how many more hours we put in as a civilization to make the exact same amount of money
just to keep the status quo, keep making the monthly mortgage payment, buying food.
Yeah. I don't know.
So surely you have some takeaways from this, not just well, that's the data, folks.
Well, I really wanted to hear you guys' takeaways before I just pounded mine onto the table.
Yeah, I can't tell what angle you're working here, but Nick's always got an angle, so there will be something coming. But
be blindsided.
I would be really curious to know what were people in 1965 if the median income if people are, when adjusted for inflation and everything else, it's clear that it is, now a lot of the daily things are pretty much the same we saw, and even a little bit cheaper.
Yeah,
which is interesting because a lot of those things have been political tension points. It's so much worse now Trust us to make it.
Terrible the cost of food.
Yeah, trust us to make it better for you.
Yep.
So I mean, in those ways, it stayed relatively the same. However, like the increases for rent, mortgage, and vehicle payments are so much greater that people had to have some more cash available. And what were they doing with it? I guess I shouldn't say what were they spending it on. What were they doing with it? Were they just saving it? Were they buying property? Were more people paying for their kids' college? I mean, what do you think was going on with that money?
I think college is hard because back in 1965, college was like a stick of gum and working at the pool for 20 days during the summer. It wasn't like a $300,000 investment.
Yeah, right.
But I think that it's hard to tell. I would imagine people just saved a lot more because we have these little things now that kind of eat away at things like your cell phone bill, like your Wi-Fi, and buying new phones all the time and all the gadgets. And, I guess you could go buy a new blender in 1965, but like we didn't have like all these smart devices and things that we now wrap our lives around.
So you think it was just largely saved and invested maybe?
Maybe. I think there's a lot of consumption that went on between 1965 and now that really we've kind of went, okay, well, we're making more money. We can consume more on this and that and the other thing.
Because boomers would have been teenagers in 1965.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Because in 1945.
Grade school, the last year of boomers was 64 when they were last year of
I
being
didn't
born
realize
was
that. I thought it was in the 50s. Okay, so they would be. I mean, they'd
be like
the
like
oldest
grade
ones
school
would be 15.
To high school. Yeah.
And maybe 17. Maybe the oldest were 17. And so they weren't in the workforce. So we are literally talking about 3 years before
Silent
they
generation.
entered the workforce until now, which is when they are currently exiting the workforce. And what has changed? Scott Galloway, I think, has a pretty good argument about consolidating wealth. And you and I have talked about this. Like,
Nick's getting ready to get all the boomers to chase after me.
No. My argument is that every generation, every time, because the greediness of the human heart takes all the chips off the table. The boomers were just the very first generation where there were tons of chips on the table. Yeah. Chips that helped people live till 90 years old and chips that help people have 3 houses and stuff like that.
A post World War II global economy where we were the only economy left standing for a long time.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, I'm like a boomer sympathizer. I see in the comments, man, people are not boomer sympathizer. I'm a boomer sympathizer. And here's why. When I'm looking for a plumber, I'm hiring a boomer, and that's from like experience of many, many plumbers.
Oh, to say that any generation doesn't have anything. I mean, there is Gen Z. Okay, that's the outlier to my data here, but I'm just kidding.
That's funny. That's me.
To say that there's no good qualities to any generation is completely ridiculous. But I think there has been some wealth hoarding that has gone on, whether deliberately or just playing the game. And I think most of it's just been playing the game. These are your opportunities, or you're not going to take them because you want someone else to have them. Yeah. Very few people are willing to live that way. But that being said, a lot of opportunities were taken that other generations didn't get a chance to have. But the pros of the boomers has certainly been they stick with the job for an entire career. They don't bounce around. They get the job done. You don't see them on their phone while they're on the clock. You don't have this concern of do they actually know what they're talking about, because they do, and so certainly there's pros and cons.
Yeah. The cons are when they're in the comments on social media.
Yeah.
Actually, that's basically a con for every generation that's in the comments on social media. I made a post just on my personal thing earlier today that was like, when I get to heaven, I can ask God anything. I'm going to ask to see a list of all the comments that were typed out, but not hit send.
Hey, I've used that joke before.
Really?
Yeah. There's a guy that I knew in college who posted that years ago. He's like, I want to go to the place where all the unsent text messages and Facebook comments are.
Dude, that dude, I mean, there's some stuff in there.
Oh yeah, and there'd be a lot of truth in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you actually think? Oh man, I can't even tell you how many times I've done that. Okay, well, the whole boomer thing, that wasn't my point.
Yeah. What's your big takeaway?
Here's my big takeaway on this. Was that when you believe that lifestyle gets better from overall economic improvement, that's a lie. After a certain point of not experiencing the stress of being able to pay your medical bills and your mortgage, basically, if you can pay for your medical insurance, your mortgage, your vehicles, and your food, if you can do that and not worry about having to do that, the happiness you experience is up to you at that point. And it is like a driving political force. The economy. The economy is going to be so much better. And Zach Lane said it really well. The worshiping was it the religion of economics?
How did he say it? Capitalist spiritualist or something like that. Or a religious capitalist.
And it's just true. And
a worship of capitalism, essentially. No matter what, capitalism's the right the right answer.
And what is kind of interesting is the averages are totally different from 1965 until now. And I think it's just showing, to some degree, the bell curve gets stretched out further. So rich people get richer. I would actually argue that poor people aren't getting poorer. I think that's why the average is going up. I think the poorest people now in the United States are much wealthier than the poorest people in 1890 or 1930. Well, definitely 1930.
Well, I mean, when did Social Security come around? That was
around
LBJ, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I thought there would be a lot more
post Kennedy. So 1965, 1966, somewhere in there.
Yeah. I went on a whole rabbit trail on this about like, I bet there's way more Social Security or some sort of payout that it's less per capita, accounted for inflation. It's less than 1965. 2025.
There's less people getting government assistance, you're saying? There's less government assistance dollars available to recipients?
No, not available. So there's way less cash handed out now than 1965. And part of that is because we got a little smarter and started handing out food and subsidies for housing and stuff like that, which I think if you're going to hand stuff out, that's the way to do it. But because I really thought, some of these numbers are propped on the government handing out more money now than what? Nope, not true. And then I was like, well, maybe this website. No, it just everywhere I looked, it just wasn't true. So I was wrong on that. Yeah. So I think this makes a good argument for the Midwest because a lot of our political leaders and or people who are wanting to get into office are making strong economic arguments. I hope you already know this if you're listening. Better economics, past those four things that we talked about, better economics just won't make your life better. Overall macroeconomics, just because a giant corporation's making a ton of money down the road doesn't mean the 8,000 people who work there are making more money. And here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying those big companies are abusing people if they're paying like a fair livable wage. And I think a fair livable wage is a fair livable wage for what you're doing for work. But I don't think we should be basing all of our decisions in our communities, especially here in the Midwest. The East and West Coast pride themselves on running after economics. And great, I'll take advantage of Netflix because some billionaire, someone else invented it. I'm fine with that. But the actual here and now and what we want to preserve, I don't want us to chase after the economics. I don't think that will lead to good things for the Midwest. We just don't have the resources needed. And I think this data perfectly says that.
Yeah, that's That's an interesting take for sure.
Yeah. So I'm really curious. Riley is kind of he's like our penny pincher and like our resident. Like if we are going to go buy something at Walmart, we call Riley first.
Yeah.
Sir David Ramsey.
We got Scrooge McDuck and or I'm the Scrooge McDuck of the company. When Nicholas said, or when Kent said we're going to buy groceries for Pheasant Fest, I could feel my heart just constrict a little bit. But I'm excited. I'm excited for that.
I'm curious, like, what is your view on how much money someone can make and or the kind of lifestyle it leads based on the fact that 1965 to 2025 basically isn't any different for the average human?
I'm sympathetic because, you know, there are certainly things that we've been fortunate enough to hold pretty steady, but there's other things that I wonder about. Like, I think so much of this confusion and pain right now comes from these increases. You know, people, it's not just that maybe adjusted for inflation, things are pretty steady, but when you see like your water bill go up 20% in 1 year, it's like that's something nobody's watching for the 2% a year. Okay, we're increasing your water bill 10 cents.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's just a shock and awe thing where people are calling out for a better economy because they're feeling like, okay, everybody else is increasing prices, but my wage isn't going up. Nobody gave me a 10% raise this year, you know? Yeah. So I think it's a reaction to what you see in your day-to-day. You know, if your day-to-day is getting shocked by these sticker shocks and, I go to the grocery store and buy 10 things and it's $150, you know, I think that's what gets to people. And, but I was thinking about this the other morning, as I drove to work this morning. If I was given $100,000, what would I do with it? You know, would it demonstrably make my life better? Would I live my life differently? And I was like, I don't think so. Yeah. You know,
would $10,000 a year? How big a difference would that make in your life?
I think if your basic needs are met, you know, it depends on, as a person, if you draw your value from outside things or if you can have a sense of self that doesn't rely on material goods. You know, like it's nice to have your, you know, you turn the key in your car and your car starts in the morning. That's something that's demonstrably better. But, you know, whether or not your car has leather seats from 10 years ago or 5 years ago it's a nothing burger to me, you know.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's a good perspective.
Well, everyone listening, you are hearing an evolution in my brain. I thought for sure everything was way cheaper today than it was back then. Besides maybe rent and mortgage, I knew that was kind of going up. But I thought nope, same price. We're getting paid the same. It's all the same, no matter what's going on around us. And so we got to look elsewhere to figure out some of this satisfaction in life, especially here in the Midwest, where
and I think it's also to remember that we aren't just we've been saying this since day one of the podcast. We aren't just powerless victims. You know, the biggest vote is with your dollar.
Absolutely.
And so if you see somebody who's doing things well, doing it in a way that you like better, give them your dollar. And you don't always have to let, you know, whoever the big bad guys are in the economy, you don't have to, you're not, I guess, totally beholden to giving them your dollars. If you want positive change, your dollar speaks a lot louder than your actual vote does. I mean, it's a sad reality, but it's true.
We like to complain, it's all a rigged game up in Washington. Yeah, but it's rigged by our dollars. Where we put our dollars. So if we can,
if we ever are complaining about something, and I'm not virtue signaling here because I'm guilty as well. If we're ever complaining about something, you know, we're saying, yeah, I bought it from there, but I just hate giving them my dollar. Well, there's no point in complaining because you just gave them more dollars.
Yeah.
You know, if that's ever where the conversation goes, then no change has been made just because you've recognized that it's not where you want to be spending your money. If you're still spending your money, they're still winning.
Man. Well, this is good. Guys, I'm like totally a data and graph nerd. I just love
you're just a
data.
nerd.
I'm just a nerd on all things. I'm just not enough of a nerd simply because I just don't care about Lord of the Rings enough. I just don't. I've watched the movies a couple of times. I really thought I'd like them more, but in a lot of other ways, I'm a big nerd, like video games, like.
Did you ever think that those movies were made like in the early 2000s? So if the
well, I don't know. My friends,
if they had the CGI available to them that's there today, they'd probably be pretty awesome.
Maybe. I mean, that was one of their big things is they had not that much CGI.
Right. They were probably. I mean, when you think of like major. What do they say? Major motion pictures? Is that what they used to say? Back in the,
I'm sure they did. Buddy.
When you think of like big time movies, and not just relying on CGI for all like the really crazy special effects, that might be like one of the last big movies to. We really have people dressed like that, jumping off of that to get this shot.
Man. I mean, you can tell they're great movies. I know they're ranked like some of the highest movies ever, but I just can't get into them.
Yeah, they were great.
My brain's too rotted by scrolling on social media. At this point.
I'm not a nerd. I don't like Lord of the Rings. I watch anime instead.
The whole plot didn't resolve in 8 seconds.
Yeah, you go from one of the greatest like written stories ever told to like the cheapest garbage shows I've ever seen, and I eat those up. I love them. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. Don't forget we're hanging out at Pheasant Fest and Illinois Deer Classic, and we will talk to you
and
again.
the Iowa Deer Classic.
Is that what I said?
Well, you said Illinois.
Oh yeah, we'll be in Illinois too, and Iowa. So anyway, we'll talk to you again next time.